What if the person you are right now is a stranger you were taught to be? A collection of habits, beliefs, and fears borrowed from others, stitched together so carefully that you've mistaken it for a soul. You wake up each morning, put on this costume of a person, and walk through a life that feels not quite yours. There is a low-grade hum of anxiety in the background, a quiet whisper that this isn't all there is. You feel it when you're scrolling late at night, looking at the lives of others not with jealousy but with a strange sense of detachment, as if you're a ghost watching the living. You feel it when you make a promise to yourself, to wake up earlier, to eat better, to finally start that project, and watch as if from a distance as another day slips by, the promise broken, the inertia winning yet again. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are trapped. You are trapped in a psychological prison you didn't even know you were in, and the bars are forged from your own thoughts. You work hard, you try to do the right thing, you consume all the motivation, the life hacks, the five-step plans. But have you ever stopped to wonder why your effort doesn't equal your results? It's like you're flooring the gas pedal, but the car is in neutral. The engine screams, you burn fuel, you make a lot of noise, but you don't go anywhere. You end the day exhausted, but in the exact same spot you started. This is the quiet desperation of the modern mind, a state of perpetual motion with no forward momentum. It is the feeling of being a passenger in your own life, your hands on the steering wheel, but someone or something else is in control. Today, that ends. We are not here to add another layer of paint to a crumbling foundation. We are not here to offer you a temporary boost of motivation that will fade by morning. We are here to hand you the blueprints and the sledgehammer. The purpose of this journey is not to improve the person you are today. It is to demolish that person, piece by piece, and build a new one from the bedrock of your own sovereign will. We will embark on what the ancients understood as a rite of passage, a series of challenges designed to strip away the false self and reveal the formidable power underneath. This is the path of the 9 trials of the mind. By the end of this, if you truly engage with what is being said, you will not just think differently. You will become unrecognizable to the person who is listening to this right now. The fears that paralyze you will become fuel. The discipline you lack will become your default state. The inner chaos that drains you will become a source of unshakable peace. This is your invitation to die before you die, so you can finally begin to live. Before we descend into the trials themselves, let's secure our first victory. Let's give you a weapon you can use this very second. Understand this, you don't have one mind, you have two. There is the first mind and the second mind. The first mind is the one you know intimately. It is the chattering monkey, the reactionary, emotional, impulsive thinker. It is the voice that screams when you are insulted, the one that whimpers for comfort food after a hard day, the one that convinces you to hit the snooze button because you deserve it. The first mind is a creature of instinct and conditioning. It is your autopilot, and it is flying you directly into a storm. But then there is the second mind. The second mind is the silent observer. It is the watcher on the walls of your consciousness. It is the part of you that, even in a moment of rage, has a tiny, quiet thought. This is an interesting reaction. It is the part of you that notices you are procrastinating. It is the calm, deep, and unwavering presence behind the noise. The Stoics called this the hegemonikon, the ruling faculty of the mind. For most people, the second mind is a prisoner, locked away in a dungeon while the first mind runs the kingdom into the ground. Your first and most critical victory is to realize that you are not the voice of the first mind. You are the second mind who hears it. The moment you create that separation, the moment you can observe your own thoughts and emotions without being swept away by them, you have taken the keys to the kingdom. Right now, just for a second, notice the thoughts in your head. Hear the chatter. Who is it that is noticing? That is you. That is the second mind. And that is the entity we are going to train, fortify, and place on the throne. This simple shift is the foundation of all mental power. From this moment on, your work is not to silence the first mind. That is impossible, but to empower the second mind to be its master. Now we begin the first trial, the trial of unsentimental truth. This is the crucible where all comfortable lies are burned away. The modern world is built on a foundation of soft deceptions we tell ourselves to avoid the pain of reality. I don't have time. I'm not talented enough. It's not my fault, it's the economy, my boss, my past. These are not reasons, they are anesthetics. They numb the sharp pain of personal responsibility. The first trial demands that you become a brutal, unflinching archaeologist of your own life. You must dig through the layers of excuses and justifications until you hit the bedrock of unvarnished truth. Take out a piece of paper or simply open a space in your mind and create a document titled The Dossier of My Failures. And in this dossier, you will list every goal you failed to achieve, every promise you broke to yourself, every time you took the easy way out. But here is the critical rule of this trial. For every single entry, you are forbidden from blaming anyone or anything but yourself. The narrative, I didn't have enough money, becomes, I failed to acquire the necessary resources. The excuse, I was too tired, becomes, I mismanaged my energy and prioritized comfort over commitment. This is not an exercise in self-hatred. It is an exercise in radical ownership. Self-hatred is passive. It wallows in the mud. Ownership is active. It analyzes the composition of the mud so it knows how to build a road over it next time. The first mind will fight you every step of the way. It will scream that this is unfair, that you were a victim of circumstance. It will try to protect its fragile ego. But the second mind, your true self, must hold the line. It must look at the evidence with the cold, detached eye of a detective. Why did you really fail? Not the story you tell others, not even the story you tell yourself. The real reason. Was it fear of failure? Fear of success? Was it a deep-seated belief that you are unworthy? You must follow the trail of why all the way down to its source, no matter how uncomfortable it gets. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, his meditations, not to create a public persona, but to wrestle with his own soul. He was holding himself to account, stripping away his own imperial delusions to face the man underneath. This is your meditations. This is your private war council with yourself. Passing this trial doesn't mean you have no more flaws. It means you are no longer blind to them. You have exchanged the comforting warmth of a lie for the harsh, illuminating light of the truth. In that light, and only in that light, can real construction begin. You have mapped the enemy's territory, which is your own weakness. Now, you can draw up a plan of attack. Having faced the truth, you are now ready for the second trial, the trial of the silent room. If the first trial was about confronting your inner lies, this one is about confronting your inner noise. We live in an age of engineered distraction. Our phones, our feeds, our entertainment, they are all designed to keep the first mind constantly occupied, constantly stimulated, constantly running from the one thing it fears most: silence. Because in silence, there is no escape from yourself. The anxieties, the regrets, the unresolved conflicts, the deep existential questions, they all come rushing to the surface. The trial is deceptively simple in its instruction, yet profound in its difficulty. You must spend a period of time every single day in a room alone with nothing. No phone, no computer, no book, no music. Just you, the chair you sit in, and the space around you. Start with 10 minutes. It will feel like an hour. For the first few days, your first mind will go into a state of panic. It will be like a caged animal. It will bombard you with an endless stream of thoughts. I should be doing something productive. Did I remember to send that email? This is a waste of time. It will invent phantom itches, sudden urges to get up and organize a bookshelf, anything to break the silence. This is the withdrawal. You are a drug addict and your drug is distraction. Your task is not to fight these thoughts. Remember the lesson of the second mind. Your task is to observe them, watch them rise and fall like waves. Notice the patterns. See how your mind jumps from a memory of childhood to a worry about next week's meeting, to a snippet of a song you heard yesterday. You will come to see that your mind is not a cohesive, logical machine. It is a chaotic, associative storm. And in watching this storm from the calm center of the second mind, you begin to detach from it. You realize you are not the storm. You are the sky in which the storm is happening. As you continue this practice, something remarkable begins to happen. The storm, having no external stimulus to feed on, slowly begins to calm. The waves become smaller. The periods of calm between thoughts become longer. And in that quiet space, you begin to hear a different voice. It is not a voice of words, but of deep knowing. This is where your true intuition resides. This is where your authentic values become clear. You begin to understand what you truly want out of life, not what society or advertising has told you to want. You start to solve problems that have plagued you for years, because for the first time, you are giving your mind the space to actually process them instead of just reacting to them. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that true freedom is an internal state, that a man can be in a literal prison yet be freer than an emperor who is a slave to his passions. The silent room is your training ground for this freedom. By conquering the fear of your own inner world, you make it your sanctuary. You build an internal fortress of solitude that you can retreat to at any time, no matter how chaotic the external world becomes. You are no longer running from yourself. You are learning to come home. With a mind cleared by truth and quieted by stillness, you are prepared for the third trial, the trial of the forged will. This is where the metaphysical becomes physical. Willpower is not a mystical quality you are born with. It is a muscle, and like any muscle, it grows stronger only through resistance. We live in a culture that worships comfort and convenience. Everything is designed to remove friction, to satisfy our desires instantly. This has made our collective will as atrophied as the muscles of a bedridden patient. The trial of the forged will is the process of deliberately and systematically reintroducing voluntary hardship into your life to rebuild that muscle. This trial is not about grand, heroic gestures. It is about winning small, almost insignificant battles every single day. The war for your will is won in the trenches of the mundane. It begins the moment your alarm clock goes off. The first mind begins its negotiation. Just 5 more minutes. You worked hard yesterday, you need the rest. The voice is seductive, reasonable, but the forged will says one word, no, and you get up, immediately, without debate. That single act, that tiny victory, sends a powerful signal to your entire being. I am in command here. The practice of this trial involves creating and adhering to a non-negotiable personal code. Choose a few small, deliberate acts of discipline and perform them without fail. Take a cold shower every morning. The initial shock is your first mind screaming in protest against the discomfort. Standing in that cold water, breathing calmly, is a direct assertion of the second mind's authority. It is a daily baptism in discipline. Another practice is intermittent fasting. Denying yourself the instant gratification of food when you feel the first pang of hunger is a powerful way to train the will. You learn to observe the sensation of hunger without being controlled by it. You are teaching your body, through direct experience, that you are its master, not the other way around. You can apply this principle to anything. Commit to reading 10 pages of a difficult book every day. Commit to a specific workout, and do it even on the days you feel unmotivated, especially on the days you feel unmotivated. Motivation is a fickle and unreliable friend. Discipline is a steel-limbed soldier that shows up for duty regardless of the weather. Every time you choose the harder path, every time you honor a commitment to yourself over the siren song of comfort, you are casting a vote for your future self. You are laying another brick in the foundation of your new identity. People who seem to have superhuman discipline are not superhuman. They have simply won so many of these small, daily battles that the muscle of their will has become extraordinarily strong. They have made discipline their habit, their default state. When you pass the trial of the forged will, you stop hoping for a different life. You start building one difficult, deliberate, and victorious act at a time. The satisfaction you get from this is 1,000 times deeper and more lasting than the fleeting pleasure of giving in to comfort. It is the profound self-respect that comes only from knowing you can count on yourself. Now that your will is being tempered, we arrive at one of the most subtle and difficult challenges, the fourth trial of the shattered ego. The ego, your sense of self-importance, is the greatest traitor to your potential. It is the part of you that craves validation, that fears criticism, that needs to be right. It is a fragile, insecure tyrant that sabotages your growth at every turn. It prevents you from trying new things because you might look foolish. It stops you from asking for help because it would be an admission of weakness. It makes you defensive in arguments, more concerned with winning than with finding the truth. The ego is a prison of one's own making, and to become unrecognizable, you must tear it down. This trial requires you to actively seek out situations that challenge your ego. It is a controlled demolition. One of the most powerful practices is to deliberately take on the role of the student. Find someone who is better than you at a skill you want to learn, at the gym, in business, in a creative pursuit, and humble yourself before them. Ask stupid questions. Acknowledge your ignorance. The ego will hate this. It will whisper that you are making a fool of yourself, but you must let it scream. By willingly placing yourself in a subordinate position, you are teaching yourself that your self-worth is not tied to being the smartest person in the room. In fact, true strength lies in the ability to learn from anyone. Another practice is to actively seek out constructive criticism. Instead of defending your work, ask with genuine curiosity, how could this be better? What am I missing? When someone gives you feedback, your first mind's immediate reaction will be to get defensive, to explain why they are wrong. You must override this. The second mind must listen, truly listen, and say only 2 words: thank you. You don't have to agree with the criticism, but you must honor the act of it being given. This starves the ego of its need for constant approval. You are training yourself to separate your identity from your output. An attack on your work is not an attack on you. Perhaps the most advanced practice in this trial is what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, but applied to the ego. Spend time imagining scenarios where your ego is crushed. Imagine being publicly embarrassed. Imagine being proven wrong in a major way. Imagine being laughed at. By visualizing these scenarios in a controlled environment, you desensitize yourself to them. You rob them of their power. You realize that your survival, your true self, is not dependent on your reputation or on being seen as perfect. Ryan Holiday, a modern popularizer of Stoicism, often writes about how ego is the enemy. It is the internal force that turns ambition into arrogance and success into failure. When you pass the trial of the shattered ego, you achieve a state of profound freedom. You are no longer held hostage by the opinions of others. You can act with boldness and authenticity because you are not afraid of the outcome. You gain a quiet confidence that is not based on being better than others, but on being so secure in yourself that you no longer need to engage in that comparison game. You have traded the brittle armor of ego for the resilient strength of humility. With the ego in its proper place, you can now face the fifth trial, the trial of emotional sovereignty. This is perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of mental strength. It is not about becoming a robot. It is not about suppressing your emotions. Suppression is like holding a beach ball underwater. Eventually, it will burst to the surface with even greater force. Emotional sovereignty is about feeling your emotions fully without being ruled by them. It is the ability to stand in the heart of a hurricane of feeling and not be blown away. It is the power to choose your response, rather than being a slave to your reaction. The training for this trial begins with emotional literacy. You must learn to name your emotions with precision. Most people operate with a blunt emotional vocabulary. I feel good. I feel bad. I'm stressed. This is like a doctor trying to perform surgery with a hammer. You must become a connoisseur of your inner states. Are you feeling angry, or is it actually disappointment masked as anger? Are you feeling anxious, or is it excitement without breath? When you feel a powerful emotion rising, your practice is to pause. Before you act, before you speak, create a space. In that space, a gift from your training in the silent room, you simply identify the emotion. Say to yourself, ah, this is the feeling of jealousy, or I am now experiencing frustration. The act of naming it creates a separation. It objectifies the feeling. It is no longer I am angry. It becomes I am a person who is currently feeling anger. You are the container, not the contents. The next step is to investigate the emotion with curiosity, not judgment. Ask it questions. Where did you come from, anger? What triggered you? What is the story you are telling me? You will often find that the story is based on a flawed assumption or an old wound. Anger might be telling you a story about being disrespected. But if you investigate, you might find the other person was just having a bad day, and their action had nothing to in fact do with you. By engaging with your emotions in this way, you turn them from tyrannical masters into wise counselors. They are data points. They are signals from your subconscious. The great Stoic Seneca often wrote about anger, calling it a temporary madness. He prescribed a method for dealing with insults: delay. When insulted, do nothing. Say nothing. Let the initial wave of hot, reactive emotion pass. Once the water is calm, you can then choose a response from a place of reason and strength, not from a place of wounded pride. This is the essence of emotional sovereignty. You feel the sting of the insult, you acknowledge the anger, but you do not grant it control of your actions. This power is a superpower in the modern world. While everyone else is being jerked around like puppets on the strings of their own reactions, you remain calm, centered, and in control. You can navigate difficult conversations, handle crises, and withstand personal attacks without losing your inner peace. You have mastered the weather system of your own soul. Having gained control over your inner world, it is time for the sixth trial, the trial of the architect's vision. It is not enough to deconstruct the old self. You must have a clear blueprint for the new one. Most people drift through life on the currents of circumstance. They have vague desires. I want to be successful. I want to be happy. But they have no precise, high-definition vision for who they want to become. A dream without a plan is just a wish. This trial is about becoming the deliberate architect of your future self. This process is far more than simple goal setting. It is an act of profound creation. You must sit down with the clarity gained from the silent room and design your unrecognizable self in granular detail. Do not think about what is realistic. That is the voice of your old limitations. Think about who you would be if you had no fear. How does this person walk? How do they talk? What is the first thing they do in the morning? What are their core principles, their non-negotiable values? Write it down. Be specific. Instead of I want to be more confident, write I make eye contact when I speak. I state my opinions clearly and calmly without needing others to agree. I take up space in a room, not with arrogance but with a quiet sense of self-possession. Create a code of conduct for this future self. What are the rules they live by? For example, I do not complain. I either act to change the situation or I accept it. I finish what I start. I treat my body with respect as the vessel for my will. I seek wisdom, not entertainment. This document becomes your North Star. It is the constitution for your new personal nation. But a blueprint is useless if it stays on the drawing board. The second part of this trial is to begin living as if you are already this person. This is not faking it till you make it. It is an act of becoming. Each day, you review your blueprint, and then at every choice point throughout the day, you ask yourself one question. What would the person I am becoming do in this situation? Would they eat the donut or the apple? Would they scroll through social media or read a book? Would they engage in gossip, or would they remain silent? Every choice you make that aligns with your blueprint is a vote for that new identity. You are literally building the neural pathways of your future self with every action. This is why the previous trials are so crucial. Without unsentimental truth, your blueprint would be based on lies. Without a quiet mind, you would not be able to conceive of a clear vision. Without a forged will, you would not have the discipline to act on it. Without a shattered ego, you would be too afraid to try and fail. And without emotional sovereignty, you would be too easily derailed by setbacks. The trial of the architect's vision is where all your training converges. You are no longer just reacting to life. You are imposing your will upon it. You are taking the raw material of your potential and consciously sculpting it into a masterpiece. You are becoming the cause, not just the effect. Now that you have a clear vision, you must protect it. This brings us to the seventh trial, the trial of the guardian's focus. Your attention is the most valuable currency you possess. It is the raw energy from which your reality is built. And in the 21st century, there is an all-out war for that currency. Every notification, every advertisement, every headline is a calculated attempt to hijack your focus and divert it towards someone else's agenda. A scattered mind cannot build anything of value. A distracted life is a life lived by default. This trial is about becoming a ruthless guardian of your attention, building a fortress of focus around your architect's vision. The first step is a digital purge. You must conduct an honest audit of where your attention is going. Look at your phone's screen time report. Look at your browsing history. It will be a sobering experience. You will see hours, entire days of your one precious life being poured into the meaningless void of digital distraction. Your task is to eliminate mercilessly. Unfollow accounts that trigger envy, anger, or mindless consumption. Delete apps that provide no real value. Turn off every single notification on your phone and computer, except for those from actual human beings you have chosen to communicate with. A notification is a command from an external source to divert your attention. You must reclaim your sovereignty. Your phone is a tool, not your master. It should be used with intention, not compulsion. The second step is to create sacred blocks of time for deep work. This is time dedicated solely to moving the needle on your most important goals, aligned with your architect's vision. For 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever you can manage, you disappear from the world. No phone in the same room. No email tabs open. Just you and the task at hand. In the beginning, this will feel incredibly difficult. Your first mind, addicted to the dopamine hits of distraction, will rebel. It will crave the next notification, the next refresh of the feed. But as you persist, you will rediscover a state of being that is becoming increasingly rare in our society, the state of flow. This is where you are so deeply immersed in a task that time seems to disappear. It is where you do your best work, and it is also a source of profound satisfaction. The third and most advanced practice is to cultivate mindfulness in everything you do. When you are eating, just eat. Taste the food. Feel the texture. Don't scroll your phone or watch television. When you are walking, just walk. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the world around you. This is the practice of being where you are. By training your focus on the simple, mundane moments of life, you strengthen your ability to direct it towards your most ambitious goals. You are teaching your mind to be a laser, not a floodlight. When you pass the trial of the guardian's focus, you reclaim the hours of your day and the power of your mind. You become one of the few people who can think, work, and create with depth in a shallow world. You are no longer a leaf in the wind of digital distraction. You are the stone in the river, unmovable, directing the current of your own life. Life, however, will test your new fortifications. It will hurl suffering and adversity at you. This leads us to the eighth trial, the trial of the alchemist's pain. Most people see pain, failure, and suffering as things to be avoided at all costs. When they strike, they are seen as purely negative events, injustices to be lamented. The spiritual alchemist, the master of the mind, sees them differently. They see them as raw material. This trial is about learning to transmute the lead of your suffering into the gold of your strength and wisdom. It is about understanding that the obstacle is the way. The foundation of this trial is a radical shift in perspective, rooted in Stoic philosophy. Epictetus, a man who was born a slave and lame, taught that it is not things that upset us but our judgment about things. The event itself is neutral. The pain is real, but the suffering is a story we tell ourselves about the pain. A job loss can be a catastrophe, or it can be an opportunity to build something of your own. A betrayal can be a wound that never heals, or it can be a lesson in setting better boundaries and choosing your company more wisely. A failure can be proof of your inadequacy, or it can be the most valuable tuition you ever pay. The alchemist does not deny the pain, they ask a different question about it. Instead of "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "How can I use this?" The practice of this alchemy begins with a post-mortem analysis of your past pains. Look back at the most difficult moments of your life, the heartbreaks, the failures, the losses. At the time, they felt like the end of the world, but look at who you are now. What did you learn from those experiences? What strengths did you develop because you had no other choice? You will often find that your greatest sources of resilience, compassion, and wisdom were forged in those very fires. By consciously recognizing this pattern, you build faith in your ability to handle future adversity. When a new challenge arises, your training is to find the gift in it. This is not a form of toxic positivity, of pretending that something bad is actually good. It is a pragmatic search for the opportunity embedded within the crisis. If you are facing a difficult conflict with someone, the gift might be the chance to practice your emotional sovereignty and communication skills. If you are struggling with a complex project, the gift is the growth you will experience by mastering it. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, writing in the midst of plague, war, and personal betrayal, constantly reminded himself to see every obstacle as a new opportunity to practice a virtue: patience, courage, justice, wisdom. He was turning the very things sent to destroy him into fuel for his own development. When you master the trial of the alchemist's pain, you become antifragile. You are no longer someone who simply endures hardship. You become someone who benefits from it. You actively seek out challenges because you know that they are the very things that will make you stronger. You develop an unshakable inner peace because you know that whatever life throws at you, you have the power to transform it into something of value. You stop being afraid of the story of your life because you know you are the one who gets to write what it means. And so we arrive at the final threshold. After facing the truth, quieting the mind, forging the will, shattering the ego, mastering the emotions, designing the vision, guarding the focus, and transmuting the pain, you are ready for the ninth trial, the trial of the unrecognizable self. This is not a trial of action, but of integration. It is the process of letting the old you die completely and fully embodying the new identity you have forged. For a long time, this new self will feel like a costume. You will act with discipline, but the old voice of comfort will still be a loud whisper. You will respond with emotional sovereignty, but you will feel the ghost of your old reactive patterns. This is the critical phase. Many people reach this point and then retreat, falling back into the comfort of their old identity. The trial is to keep going, to keep making choices aligned with your architect's vision, even when it feels inauthentic. Authenticity is not about staying true to your old, limited self. True authenticity is about being true to the person you are choosing to become. The practice here is one of identity-level journaling and reflection. At the end of each day, you do not just review what you did, you review who you were. Ask yourself, in which moments today did I act like my future self? In which moments did I revert to the old version? There is no judgment here, only data. You are a scientist of your own transformation. You are noticing the glitches in the new software so you can debug them tomorrow. You celebrate the wins, the moments where the new identity felt natural and effortless. You analyze the failures, the moments you fell back and you recommit. Another key practice is to consciously curate your environment to support your new identity. You cannot become a lion if you continue to live with sheep. This may mean distancing yourself from people who reinforce your old patterns, who mock your discipline, or who thrive on negativity. It means seeking out people who embody the qualities you are cultivating. Your environment, both physical and social, is a constant stream of subtle cues telling you who you are. You must seize control of those cues. Fill your bookshelf with wisdom. Listen to podcasts that challenge you. Spend time in nature, which reflects timeless strength and resilience. Over time, through consistent action and deliberate integration, a shift occurs. The new behaviors, the new mindsets stop feeling like an effort. They become your default. The discipline is no longer a struggle, it is just who you are. The emotional calm is not a technique you apply, it is your natural state of being. The old you, the person of anxiety, procrastination, and reactivity, begins to feel like a distant memory, like a character from a book you once read. This is the moment you have passed the trial. This is the moment when you look in the mirror and a stranger looks back. A stranger you have built, a stranger you respect, a stranger who is finally, truly you. We have walked through the 9 trials. We faced the blinding light of unsentimental truth. We sat in the deafening silence of our own minds. We took up the hammer and forged a new will on the anvil of voluntary hardship. We shattered the fragile glass of the ego to reveal the steel underneath. We learned to command the storms of our own emotions. We became the architects of a future self, drawing a blueprint for greatness. We stood as guardians at the gate of our focus, repelling the hordes of distraction. We became alchemists, turning the lead of our pain into the gold of our power. And finally, we integrated this new being, becoming unrecognizable to our former selves. This journey is not a one-time event. It is a new operating system for your life. These trials are not gates you pass through and leave behind. They are practices you return to day after day, sharpening your tools, reinforcing your walls. The path of self-mastery is not a destination, it is a direction. The work is never truly done, and that is the beauty of it. There is always a higher level of peace, a deeper level of strength, a clearer level of purpose to attain. Now I want you to look at your hands. Right now, just look at them. These are not passive instruments. They are the hands of a sculptor. The phone you might be holding, the chair you are sitting in, the life you are currently living, all of it is clay. The reality you inhabit is not fixed. It is malleable. The question is no longer can you change? We have established that you can. We have laid out the blueprint for a power so profound it can remake a human soul. The only question that remains, the only one that has ever mattered is, will you? Will you take up the tools, or will you leave them on the table to rust? The world does not need another ghost, another passenger, another person living a life of quiet desperation. It does not need another voice in the chorus of complaint and mediocrity. What it needs, what your own future is begging for, is for you to undertake this journey. It needs you, forged in the fires of these trials, tempered, focused, and sovereign, unrecognizable. So I leave you with one final question to carry with you, not to be answered now, but to be lived. When you meet yourself a year from today, will you be shaking the hand of a stranger you admire, or will you be apologizing to the same person you are today? The choice is yours. It always has been.